Just hit record. You guys, welcome, 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 welcome. We're so excited to see you. I'm Charlie. I want to welcome you. This is our weekly, one of our weekly cafe calls, and we open it up to non-members from the Rooted Cafe. We discuss practical applications of the weekly Torah. That's what we're doing here. And of course, you guys, we're going to talk to Brenda, my co-host and my partner in crime. Some of the other calls that we have that when I say this is one of our calls, we do calls weekly and monthly. We have a homeschooling call, adoption and fostering calls, parenting calls, all of them with Torah pursuant women. We don't just randomly pick moderators for those calls. They're all professional, either social workers, all of them, again, Torah pursuant women who are walking Torah and showing you how to do those things Torah. Let's see, we have a foundations call. So many calls coming in. A mindset call. A Tuesday talk is one of our big calls that Brenda hosts. And you're going to hear people like Dr. Halisa, Dr. Dina Dye, if any of you know her, Keisha, Minister Only Love, gosh, Deborah, all the ladies from our last conference, Dr. Robin, those are all ladies that are in the cafe, that are in there as instructors, teachers, moderators. So this Fridays is when there's a lot of new people here. This is when we sit around our table or my hotel room or Brenda's office, and we get to talk about what the Parsha is about. Brenda, good morning.
Oh my gosh. I'm literally shaking, guys. I'm not even kidding. I'm shaking. It's just how beautiful that we get the opportunity to just gather together like this all across the world. We get to gather together and talk about what the Holy One is downloading to us and how he's teaching us. I was telling Charlie, it's like the first time you send your teenagers to summer camp and it's like you're giving them all the instructions. Okay, so if this happens, this is what you do. Okay, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it does, this is what you do. If this happens, this is what you do. Do you have your cell phone? Do you have your cord? Do you have your power cord? Do you have extra batteries for your flashlight? Do you? And that's
Yes.
kind of what's happening in this Torah portion. And if we look at it like that, then we set aside our preconceived ideas. We look at it like, wow, this is the Holy One giving us a heads up on what's coming up.
Right.
This is for when this is for what's going to happen. This isn't actually things that are actually happening at the time. It's for what's going to happen. And so Charlie and I are talking about this and we're just thinking, what a loving Father we have, that he's preparing us for all these great things and situations that we could get into so much trouble. And, spoiler alert, we do it all wrong. They did it all wrong. Everybody gets it wrong at times. Spoiler alert. And hello, ladies. I'm so happy to be admitting all these people. Hello.
hello. Be patient with us as we let you in. If you're watching on Facebook, we say hello. If you're watching the replay, hello. God bless you. Blessings, blessings, blessings. We see those of you in South Africa. You're headed into Shabbat. Shabbat shalom to all of you.
Shabbat shalom.
Yes. And we see ladies who are going to be watching, probably either listening on podcast or they're listening in gosh, so many ways I don't even know. Can I just say I wasn't excited about this Parsha, Brenda?
What's exciting?
I was not excited about it. I went into it last night thinking, not one of my favorites. Because I've grown up, most of you who've been here a while now, I mean, I've grown up in a Pentecostal church, and it was the list of do's and don'ts, and I liked dancing and waving flags. I didn't want to know about what I wasn't allowed to do. And so when I went into this, I kind of went into it this time with like, okay, Father, you're going to need to, and can I say, I'm so excited. Like after I got into it last night, I couldn't go to sleep till like 1 a.m. It was amazing, right? We talked about it before we jumped on here, but isn't this amazing?
Yeah, it really is. I just want to say right now, Father, will you blow your breath upon us?
Yes.
Holy One, Holy One, Holy One. Will you just breathe upon us and cause our hearts and cause our minds to grasp a hold of your thoughts and your thinking here in this Torah section? Will you help us to let go of our preconceived ideas and to just grasp a hold of your heart for your people? Will you allow us to see you today in a fresh and new way. Will you allow us to see Messiah Yeshua standing at the door with the blood upon the doorpost as our Redeemer, and the one who's forgiven us, and the one who's saved us, and the one who is saving us, and the one who goes before us? Will you help us to see all these things as your beautiful words of love and empowerment to your people, instead of regulations that suppress us and hurt us or harm us, because that's not what they are. We just ask you to blow your breath upon us, Holy One, and to help us to switch to observe these things from our spirits and not from our flesh. And I just pray a blessing over each and every woman here today. Will you be glorified today, Father? Will you arise and be glorified, that we may look at you filling up the temple, that your glory is pouring out and upon all of your people. We thank you. Amen. Wow, it is just so kind of like, you guys, it's kind of like we get to go with Moses going up. It's like we're getting to go into this journey. We get to go someplace we've never been before. We get to go to the grown-up table. I guess that's what it is, right? Like at Thanksgiving, we actually get to sit at the grown-up table this year.
Okay, and
not that we're all grown up, but
there's some things in here, Brenda, that we were talking about before we went on. Now I've read this a lot, sisters.
Yep. Yeah.
And you might never listen again after I say this.
I know they're gonna think that we should get replacements.
Why we are not qualified. I'm just telling you. He qualifies the called, and here's the example. Yeah. I read this time. And first of all, let me say, I'm reading this through a different lens after the conference. I'm reading this through a different lens. And for those of you ladies who want to go, just message us at the info at the Ruta Cafe. We can get you ways that you can still go back and listen to that conference. But after that conference, and I will say specifically after listening to Dr. Robbins' teaching on marriage and divorce and remarriage in the Bible. Now, you would think this had nothing to do with redemption, but it was the most beautiful story. The way that she taught that was the most beautiful story of the good news that I've ever heard in my life. It blew me away. Understanding the law of the husband and understanding that the reason that Yeshua had to die was so that he broke so that he would release that law of the husband. So when he says he came to fulfill the law, he came to fulfill that law. And then the reason he had to die was to break that. So then he could remarry, because the only way he could remarry his bride, the only way he could remarry again was to die. So anyways, I'm reading, Brenda, everything through this lens now. So as I began to read this, I had never read this before. I began reading this and I said, wait a minute. So Moses was telling me he had gotten all this and was sharing it with them. And then he goes up and gets the 10 words written. I actually went back like 3 times to say, did I miss something? Because surely he's already gone up and got the the tablets, and where's the golden calf? I'm like, we have to be at that point, right? And I'm like, wait, this is before all that happened, that he had already been given. So the Holy One speaks the word to him. He shares it with the people, and then he goes back and gets it in writing because it's a covenant. He goes back and he says, here's my intentions. Are you good? And they all come back and said, yes, we'll do it. And once they all say, yes, we'll do it. Okay, now I'm going to go back. It's like, Brenda, I know you were talking about getting some legal paperwork for your mom and having to take care of some things. First of all, you talked about it with the person, the paralegal or whatever, over the phone, and you say, here's some things I want to do. And are we good? Yeah, we're all good. This is what we want. Yes, we'll do it. And you sign. And then when you get to the office, it's what you said, and you sign the papers.
Right.
It's written now.
Yeah.
That's what's happening here. Was that new? Did that just get put in this year?
I think so.
Brenda, you said it too. Brenda and I both said this is new. We never realized this before. Can someone else make us not feel bad and tell us that you didn't realize that that's how this process went either? Because I thought some way in my brain, and this is how quick you can skip over things, is that they had been given the 10 commandments and he was reading the 10 commandments to them, the 10 words. And when he was saying it to them, then they're all saying, yes, we'll do it. That's not what was happening. He was sharing. Of course, he shared the 10 words. of course, but he shared all the things, and they all said, yes, we'll do it. And then he went back, and we'll get into this later. He goes back up. Before he goes up, he brings Aaron and his sons, he brings the Kohanim with him, and they have dinner with God. They share a cup. The blood is spilt. It's like a Last Supper. It's like the Last Supper. So you'll see the Last Supper. You should see it completely different as you study this parsha out, as you see them sitting at a table, and that you see them taking the blood, and he sprinkles the blood over the people. That half the blood goes, it's halved. The blood is halved. So half of it goes, because both parties have to be part of it. So half the blood goes on the altar and half the blood goes on the people. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Redemption.
When did this
Redemption?
Get put in here?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we say this all the time, and we're not making this up. This is true awe right here. This is true.
Yeah.
Going, really?
Yeah.
Did I miss? How did it? Every year, it's so exciting.
It really
and I thought
is.
I didn't like this parsha. I was like, man, maybe I'll call in sick. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm in Memphis. I'm in a hotel room. There's an ice storm. I'll just be like, me, sister.
Nope.
Because this is not. We have to remember that the word Torah is the word for instructions. For those of you who are new, your baby new here, the word Torah is a book of instructions. And I love that we come in. You know, how many times have you ever said with your children, well, it's not like they come with a book of instructions?
I've said that a lot.
They did.
Darn, I can't step that.
They came with a book of instructions.
Yeah.
We do have a book of instructions.
Yeah,
if we know how to apply it to our lives.
Yeah.
We do have a user manual.
Yes, we do.
And that's what, and we have to remember that when you hear people saying the law, the Torah is not just this section. It's not just the book of Leviticus. It's all 5 books, all the beautiful stories, all the things that we love to grab onto, right?
Yeah.
And this section is a little difficult because we're looking at things different. Brenda, I'm going to hop in. Are you ready to hop in?
Let's just do it. I mean, let's just hop in. And can I just say that I just wanted to say real quick that as we start this right here, what does it mean to own someone? There's a lot of different ways, and understand that I'm seeing that there's a lot of different ways to understand what that means, ownership of a person. But can I just tell you that when we condemn someone, when we capture people with our words and with our actions, we are enslaving them. So just put that in the back of your mind. It's not always about financial. It's also when you are speaking words to people and enslaving them with your words. Okay, so I can't talk. Go ahead. This is why this has got to have a coal on it.
Yes. Well, I mean, I wish we had time to talk about where he's taking us this week. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, I have super filter on my mouth. Super filter.
A lot of our conversations are like this. Charlie, no. That's our conversation, even between the two of us.
We're going to live out loud here for a minute. When you're called to different levels of leadership, or even in your family, in your home, in your business, in your ministries, there's processes you go through that are no bueno. And the process that I'm happening right now is I realize that if you've noticed, like you will hear a lot of I'm sorry's from me because he's putting a watch on my mouth. I'm not allowed to be snide. And I realize that I have a lot of opinions about things that he's weeding out, and I am taking, and that's why I do the mindset call in the Ruta Cafe, is I'm having to take every thought captive. And so of course, because I'm going to be teaching this new call, of course I'm going to be having to do this all myself. The thoughts that have to be held captive are crazy. And some of them could be my own thoughts in this area. So let's jump into slavery. We have a preconceived, horrible view, bad taste in our mouth of slavery for a very, very good reason. Slavery in our country and in other countries today is appalling. The word slavery to us shows about removing someone's dignity, being kidnapped, cruelty is happening to them, stripping people of their rights, treating them in ungodly, horrible ways. So when we say the word slavery, I think all of us could read this section, and probably that's one of the issues that I have. When I read this, I'm like, my just sense of justice jumps in, and I'm automatically like, no, I have to skip over this part because this does not apply now. I can't even read this, because the collective memory that we have about this is appalling. And one of the things I want to somehow change your mindset on this is I want you to take that word slavery, and remember it's an English word. Can we put it aside and say indentured servant? Can we do that? Maybe servanthood. Servanthood, we seem to not have the same picture. Servanthood, we see people in togas walking around in Roman places serving people with big goblets. I don't know. When I say servant, I have a whole different picture than the word slavery.
Is that the movie in your head?
Can you hear the music? Like, I feel like
Yeah,
it's Ben-Hur.
totally.
I don't know. But don't you guys see it? Is there a different, when you hear the word slavery, you see people being beaten, cotton fields. I mean, that's my memory of slavery. Horrific things.
Yeah.
Indignity, just indignity.
Absolutely.
But when I hear the word servanthood, and there's a reason that we're setting a baseline for this, because you're going to see the beauty of all of this, right? We're going to walk into this because we have a group of people who've just come out of slavery. They were treated, they were beaten, they were made to do things that were babies were killed, their families were ripped apart. Their dignity was stripped away from them. That was the reason that Moses rose up before he went into the wilderness, was because he was seeing his people, and he was trying. I mean, his way was he was going to like kill people and bury their bodies in the sand.
Right.
You know?
His flesh. He rose up in his flesh.
Right.
Yeah.
He rose up in his flesh, and he started, that's how he was going to handle this, because there was horrific slavery.
Right.
So when God is talking to these people, it's because, remember, they've got this mindset of what slavery looks like. And he's telling them, no, that's not who you are. Not only are you not the slave, because they're talking about when you buy a Hebrew, because the word, it's called Ivri. Let me spell it for you guys. Ivri, 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 a Hebrew, or someone of a Hebrew who's joined in as a Hebrew. And we're going to talk about why that's important. Also, we do have a different word in there when people maybe buy a Canaanite. They may buy a Canaanite later. They'll be buying other slaves. They could bring in slaves. And I have to use the word slave, but I want you guys, when I say slave, I want you to see the person in the indentured servant. I want you to see this, okay, differently, because he's trying to give them a new mindset on what this looks like, because they have the mindset, remember, of Egypt, right, Brenda? They've seen this differently. So now we're going into, they're going to be going in, and they're going to be having servants working for them. We see in Proverbs 31, we see this woman of valor is told, this is how she treats her servants well. She has them and she manages them well. This is not different. This is applicable today. And we're going to talk about how this isn't like, oh, this is just for back then. Sister, you don't think you're in charge of anyone? How about when you go to the restaurant and someone serves your table? How about for those of you who have housekeepers? That seems like an obvious, right? Or you have people who do your yards. Or how about when you go and have your car washed by someone? Or how about when you go through the drive-through and you didn't have to cook that meal? You didn't have, how are you treating those people?
Right.
How about when you stay in a hotel? How do you leave your room? How about when you sit at a table? How do you leave the table when you're done? Oh, it's all right. They'll get it. That's their job. What's your attitude toward the people who are bringing service to you? And I want you to see this as we go through each one of those things, not only the redemption that he's saying, there is a way of redemption, sister.
Yes.
And are you leaving that table at every restaurant bringing redemption? Are you throwing all your stuff around and you're no different than anybody. When you rent a car, do you leave all the trash in and say, they'll do it? Are you leaving it with excellence and you are blessing them, and the fragrance of Messiah goes everywhere with you? Because that's what he's teaching here. And you will hear Yeshua say it later when he's talking, he's saying, he's trying to bring this to you. I want you girls, when you go somewhere, I hope they don't see Misty. I hope they don't see Carol, Pietra, Brenda, I hope they don't see you. I hope they see Yeshua when you leave. And they say, wow, something was different about her. I know people who will be like, oh yeah, I have those blankety blank people coming, and they'll use their ethnic term. Oh, they're coming to do my yard, or they're coming to clean my house. And whatever. And they try to pay him as little as they can, try to get it for as cheap as they can get it. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be frugal, but what's your heart in this? Because we're going to learn here is we have another level to live at.
Right. Right.
He's saying this is who you are. You're not people who treat other people badly. You value them. We're going to see this in replacing. We've heard eye for an eye. You pluck an eye, so I get to pluck your eye. No, it's equal justice. He's giving a justice system for a civil court to say if something happens. So let's go into the slavery again.
Okay.
It's in context. We talked about them going out of slavery. He's trying to prevent the perpetuation of what they came out of. That's really what's happening right here, right? And servanthood is an attractive option in this time. I feel like we have to set some groundwork still. Servanthood, they didn't have jobs where they just went, oh, I'm going to go apply for a job, or oh, I'm
especially
going to get
women.
No, especially
women did not have options other than marriage or service or prostitution.
They were sold. And we hear, oh, the father sell the daughter. That was a gift. That was like they're trying to give their daughter a gift of a way to take care of herself, a way to bring or to care for the family, to bring money for the family. So we have to remember there wasn't like jobs where you went for a job application and you went through LinkedIn and then you signed up for jobs.com. There was not that. There was not that at all. You had very few paid positions, Brenda. Like historically, y'all go in there and look. I have to be honest. I actually posted, Gail, I think you're on here, Gail Heaton, please unmute and jump in if you have any input on this, because I will sit down tomorrow and I get to read her amazing ancient Near East perspectives. I cut and pasted it in and posted it. So if I repeat something, yay, we're on the same page. But
and can I just say real quick before you go into this, ladies, let's also, Charlie's setting the stage for this, but also I want you to recognize how this is being written to the people of the time, how this is being spoken to them. He is not talking about scenarios that are occurring. He's talking about he's giving them scenarios of things that could be happening. And if those things, or when those things happen, this is how you would deal with it. He's not talking because they don't have crops right now. A lot of these things that he is talking about specifically right now are not things that they're actually walking out in their everyday life. Remember, they're getting manna from heaven, a cloud covering, a fire at night. That's how they're living. Water that's following them, the rock that's following them and providing water for them. That's what's happening in their actual living situation. But what he's doing is preparing them, because he's training them up to become those that are going to go into the land and know how to behave. Now, that's what's happening. These are what would be the word, Charlie? They're scenarios, but they're not things that are happening right in this moment, but they will be happening. And so he wants them to know when that happens, this is how you deal with it. When this happens,
it's a prophetic word. Truly.
It's truly prophetic. And he's truly telling them, because like Charlie said, because this is who you are, because I love justice, you love justice. Yes. That's why I said, you own people when you disrespect them, you imprison them. When you're hateful to them, the pharmacist that gets the order wrong, the servant who brings you toast with butter when you asked for dry toast, and you are hateful in your words to them, you are enslaving them. It's every extreme.
You're beating them. I love you're
that.
Cursing them. You're beating them with your tongue. You're cursing them with your mouth. You are not loving. And this isn't just about a physical slap. It's just not a physical thing. When you do some things, you don't realize you could cause them days of just devastation. This is a good time to pop this in. So I get to my hotel on Monday, right? I get there and I bring my food because I'm trying to be a good servant, a good steward of my body and my energy. So I'm trying to be a good steward of that. So I bring all my own food so I don't do crazy.
So proud of you.
Thanks. And I'm please all of you hold me accountable to that too. I'm giving you permission. Check in with me. Say, how you doing? Are you cheating? Are you being a good steward? Say it that way. Say, oh, are you a good steward? And then that'll be better. So I came into my room and there was, it was just the regular room, and there was the microwave. There was no microwave. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I really need a microwave in here. Do you guys mind? Do you have one somewhere you could bring up? And I'm all unpacked, mind you. I look like I am moved in for a week. I didn't realize I was going to stay here till today, or actually I have to leave in the morning. So all of you forgive me. I have to travel. I have to do the Shabbat thing, but it's an ox in the ditch. I have to deal with it. So I I am calling there, and I could have been like, are you kidding me? I'm tired. I drove all the way to Memphis. I could have been that person. I said, I am so sorry to be this person, but I really need a microwave. And she said, well, how about I'll get one for you in the morning? No problem. Great. So a little bit later, I go to my refrigerator. I open up to get one of my little Oikos yogurts out. That's my little snack before bedtime. I go to eat my little Oikos yogurt, and they're starting to get warm. And I realize my refrigerator is not cold. So now I'm tired. I might be a little hangry. And I stopped for a minute, and I was like, Father, I'm submitting this mindset to you. Let me leave this place that they feel you. So I get on the phone. Hi, I am so sorry. I know you're probably overwhelmed, but I have to have a refrigerator. Like, I can't wait till the morning. My stuff it's going bad. And I brought all my food in. You saw me come in with my cooler. I brought my food in, and it's going bad. And she was like, I can't tell you how sorry I am. Let me upgrade you. She came and brought my stuff, helped me move my stuff to a king suite. So now she puts me in a suite where I have you know how they're separated, like my room is separated from like the living area, and there's a big, huge refrigerator, microwave, stove, dishwasher. It's a full, like a suite, a long-term extended stay suite. And then as my company kept adding more and more people so that was a blessing. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was all unpacked. So I could have been like, oh my gosh, now I have to pack again and lug it all to another room. It's 9:30 at night, ladies. I'm tired. I was so blessed instead. It was a mindset. I stopped and said, no, this is exciting. So I move into my new little area. It all gets put away. And then I've had to extend my stay twice here. And they easily could have said, I'm sorry, but we can't give you that room at the price that your company agreed to for, 2 extra nights. What I want to say, 2 extra nights I've had to stay. I've extended twice. And they're like, no, honey, let me do whatever I can do for you. We will make this work. Even today, I went and I said, I have to stay till the morning because of the ice storm. I can't leave. It's not safe. So I'm going to end up staying another night. She says, we're going to keep it the same price. We're going to keep you where you are, honey. We're so blessed. Thank you. And that's what happens. That's the fragrance of that. That's favor. I was so blessed. And I'm walking in such humility that what a blessing, because that's not who I've always been. I've been the person who is like storming down. I'm embarrassed. I'll just say, I've been that person where everyone's like, But how do you treat? And I told him, you don't need, and when I leave this hotel room, I will have everything ready. So it's so easy for them to come in and clean this room. Now, of course, I'm not going to go wash everything and do all those things, but I'm not going to leave everything strewn. I'm going to make it as if I were going to be the person that cleaned it. How would I want it left for me? I'm going to do unto them. I'll golden rule this, right? And that's not because I'm so great. This is not to impress. It's impress upon you. You think that servanthood isn't happening. It is happening every single day in your environment. I want you to be noticing it. Who's your janitors at your office? Are you slapping things all over your trash can and then you don't even wipe it up because you think they'll do it? It's unintentional, but it's ingrained in us. We don't realize, right, Bren?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. See, back then there was no minimum wage. People didn't have like a minimum wage. They couldn't go to their employment development department and say, I'm being treated unfairly. I need to report a case. This is, I need to talk to you about this. None of that was happening. So they had options. The option was they had the family business. Whatever the family business was with their dad, you took over the family business. Women got married and they helped with the family business. Or they were a servant position in their business. So they worked for someone. And at that time, the term was slavery. They were sold to that person as a slave. So I would buy Brenda and say, Brenda's going to come work for the Ruta Cafe. I'm going to pay her $8.12
a month. A month, by the way.
I'm
just kidding. I'm the high earner.
She's a top earner. I'm going to bring Brenda in and I'm going to pay, I'm going to pay for 6 years. And I'm agreeing to pay Brenda's family $600 a year for Brenda's service. And I'm going to give her a place to live and I'm going to give her food to eat and I'm going to train her in a new job. So it's like joining the military. You're like, you're giving some, you're going to get some training. And then but what he's saying through this is that at the end of 6 years, I need to let Brenda go. She gets to go now.
With money, with a stake to go out and build a business or go out and do whatever. And if it's a woman, go out and have money to be able to do whatever she needs to do or to take care of things. Yeah, it wasn't just, it was a lot to have. It was a lot to have someone that you purchase because you were required to take care of their well-being and their future. Not just the moment to moment, but you were, and that's what he's talking about here. This is how he is saying, if you're going to do this, this is how it's going to be done. Because if you're going to do this, you are going to honor them. You are going to walk in my ways. You are going to speak life into them. You are not going to take away anything. You're going to be givers of life, not predators. That's how you do it.
Dignity. You're going to leave dignity
definitely.
With people. Do you know what? You think you're not leaving? I'm going to go Joyce Myers on this one.
Go all Joyce. Do it.
You realize the dignity that you take away from people when you don't return that cart back to the stall, because you're saying they'll come get it. I mean, what's the attitude? Now it's different if you're disabled and you can't do it and it's a struggle for you. This is mindset work. But if your mindset is, hey, that's their job, I'm going to leave it here. How much dignity do you give someone? They have to walk all the way out to get that, because not because they're serving you, because they're blessed, because you're disabled, but is it because you're lazy and you decided that you were too good to bring the cart back to the thing? Because or at the grocery store or at Target, or you don't put you take something and you don't go put it back where it went, where you got it from. You just left it there and said, someone will put it away. That's their job. Okay, I stepped on my toes already. Anybody else? I want to hear it. Did anybody else's toes get stepped on? Because those people are all working for you. And are you treating them like a slave? Do you have a slave owner's mentality? Is there stuff we need to hear, Brenda? Do we need to hop in some people?
Oh, I just have to read this. Gail said, when my son was in the hospital in Denver, I took a blow-up mattress to the hotel I stayed at. And one day I came back and the service department, the people who had come in to clean, had made my mattress up like they would their hotel beds. And it made me cry to be taken care of so well. As she was at the hospital caring for her son, she came back and the people that were cleaning the room had taken care of that and made it up like it was a regular bed. How beautiful was that?
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's just beautiful. That's what that's what sets us apart. We are being given opportunities to be set apart. We are being given opportunities to see the release of the Ruach HaKodesh into everyday application of life. The words that are being spoken here, I know that I probably sound like I'm beating this over and over, but I just want you to recognize that these are not, when it says laws here, these are not laws. These are not laws. These are mishpatims. These are judgments. These are the things that you learn how to do. Mishpatim are the things that you learn how to do in order to walk as a reflection of Yahweh. Okay, these are not laws like civil laws. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is these are the judgments of the King of the universe saying, if this situation happens, this is how you're going to behave because you're going to reflect me. So if this happens, not only are you going to pay this person who's working for you and cover every one of their needs and make sure that they have everything that they need, but when they leave you after 6 years, you are going to make sure that they have a stake for the things that's to come. You're going to make sure that if they brought their family with them, that their family leaves with them. You're not keeping their kids. You're not saying, well, they have their kids on my time, I get to keep the kids. No, they get to go and you're going to pay for it. Why? Because they blessed you.
Yes.
They increased you. They profited you. And because that's who God is. So this is the mindset that we have to change here, is that we don't want to look at this like, well, it says slaves, so it's okay to have slaves. Oh, well, it says a second wife, so it's okay to have a second wife. Oh, it said, I went there. It says, the donkey fell into the ditch, so it's but it's Shabbat, so I don't have to do it because it's Shabbat. No, it's saying, I want your heart and your attitude. I want all of you, not just the letter of the law. I want everything about you. I want you to be a reflector of the glory of the majestic King of the universe in everything that you do.
And I hear that eye roll. I hear your eye roll, sister. I heard your head bobbing. I hear you. And we don't want you to have that sense of entitlement, because that's not who you are.
Yeah.
You're not a person who walks around who's rebellious.
Right.
And I'm not, no one's telling me what to do.
Right.
No one's telling me what I can eat and can't eat. No one's telling me where I can leave, how I treat my employees. I'm the boss of me. I'm the boss of them.
Right.
It's okay if you are submitting things to him because you don't understand and you're still struggling with a concept that you're hearing through this.
Of course.
We've all been through that, and it's okay to say, I don't understand why he says that, and I'm not ready to give up something yet, or I'm not willing to walk this out because I don't understand yet, and I need it to be my truth, not because someone told it to me.
Right.
But sister, be careful what comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
That it's not coming from a spirit of rebellion and head bobbing and I'm not doing that. No one's telling me nothing, because I've been there and it's a hard break. And when it happens, we're going to be here for you. Girls, come, we'll hold you while you cry and say, oh, he did it. He broke the rebellion. It was awful. It hurts.
Yeah.
Because you guys should know me well enough by now. I could struggle with that a little, a little bit. I'm going to tell you, Brenda, you talked about that. I'm going to go back to, I opened up my book last night, Unrolling the Scroll from Torah Club. And they talk about the 4 types of commandments that are actually in this section. And there's 4 types. And we have words in here that some of us may not understand. One of the words we're going to hear is the mitzvah. And the mitzvah actually comes from the Hebrew root, zavah, T-Z-A-V-A-H, and it means to command. It can be used to refer to any mandate that God gives. In common usage, it's often rendered as a good deed. For example, when Yeshua says, let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father. The good works would be the mitzvah. They may see your mitzvah, right? He's mostly term for good work is the idiom for mitzvah. And then we hear the mishpat. The word for mishpat is translated as an ordinance. And Brenda was just talking about that. But it could be better translated is translated as judgment, because the root is shafat, S-H-A-F-A-T, which means to judge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the name of this parsha, Mishpatim, because this is how we're going to judge things. This is how not us, but how he's telling, they're setting up civil and courts. This is how when you stand before the Sanhedrin, this is how they will be judging you, right? And they put the Sanhedrin where? Next to the throne. next to the tabernacle, because it was supposed to be in unity with that. Oh wait, there was no separation between church and state. In Hebrew, I went there. A Hebrew judge is called shofet. The name of this Torah portion is plural version of the mishpat, which I just said, mishpatim. So we understand that legal judgments that might be used and issued by a court of law. They may be also seen as civil laws and case precedences. So I saw someone randomly say case studies. I think I did. I'm on my cell phone, so I apologize. I can't see any comments. I'm not going to say this well. Chok, C-H-O-K, chok, chok. Say it, Brenda.
Chok.
Chok, chok. Everybody, 1, 2, 3. Chok. Don't spit. Chok. The Hebrew word chok can appear in both masculine and feminine forms, chok and hukah, respectively, according to traditional interpretations. It refers to a commandment that has no rational explanation. A hook is a because I said so.
And we won't get it, and we don't get it, and we probably won't
so
ever
we have
get
some things that are just like, why don't you wear blended garments, or why you don't do these? It's a hook, and it doesn't really make sense to us. But we have to say, like, when we were 3 or 2 and our mom told us not to do certain things, we didn't have a life experience. We didn't know We didn't have a dimensional understanding. We didn't have frontal lobe capacity to understand why our parents were telling us not to do something, but it was to protect us from something we didn't know or had
Right.
another meaning.
Right.
So are you a person of rebellion who says, I'm going to do what I want to do? Or are you going to trust that your dad knows something you may not know?
Right. And
And
that
we're
he
going to
has
see, we're going to
redemption
struggle.
there. There's
You're going
redemption
to
in everything
struggle.
he says.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so if you don't get it, just know baseline of who God is, always about redemption. If you don't
Yes.
understand it, it's okay. You don't have to, but it's always about redemption. Matthew 6:33. Just pop that right in there. Just pop it right in there. If you don't get it, okay, I don't get it, but I'm going to seek your kingdom first.
There's going to be consequences and we don't maybe understand what the consequences might be. Amanda, I do see you. I just saw the little hand. Amanda, hold on just a sec. We have some things that, again, we always say this is not about salvation. It's about life quality. It's about living a blessed life and living as close to the garden as you can.
Abundant life.
It's abundant life. So there's some things that I'm going to go here. We're going to hear it in Leviticus. All of you, hold on. Ooh. You may not want to give up bacon, and I won't call out your name, but I know you're in here. And I love you, sister, and you know it. But you eat your bacon. Eat it. Go ahead. It's not keeping you out of heaven.
Right.
Sister, there's probably 20 of you going, I can't do it. I can't give up my salami or pepperoni pizza. I can't do it. But here's the thing. He's saying, there's something I know you don't know. Can you trust me? Can you trust me with your bacon? Can you just trust me? Because that might be a hook. You don't understand it, but there's a reason for it. So just submit it. Father, am I holding on to this out of rebellion or because I just don't have a personal understanding yet? And as long as you know, what am I holding on to? Because I struggled with giving up some of my holidays, guys. I'm super open with you, and you can all judge, don't judge. But it hasn't been that long for me that I still was like holding on to, like, I really just wanted to sing the Christmas songs. I was in the Christmas cantata every year. Why? But I didn't understand it until it had to be a personal revelation. So I had to quieten myself and let the rebellion go so I could hear the Spirit tell me, this is why, honey. This is why. But if I was so full of my rebellion and holding on, I wasn't open to, I couldn't hear him because he's not going to push his way in if I'm trying to. So we're going to see that through. The last one is Torah. The word Torah means an instruction. It can be translated as law, instruction, or teaching. And it might reply to a single law or a certain category of laws or the entire 5 books of Moses. So we're going to hear those words in the next few books in entertain, especially when we get into Leviticus. We're going to hear different things that could be one of those. And you might hear us say, oh, it's a Moa, it's a Mishpatim or something. Then oh, that's a good work, or oh, that's oh, that's a law. Oh, that's an ordinance I need to look at. So anything else, the next thing about this slave we could end with is that, and I'm brewing in this. I told Brenda I wasn't sure I was going to bring it up. I said I wasn't going to bring it up. But in verse 7, he says that you're to treat, and I highlighted it in my Bible. Let me go back. In 21:7, if a man sells his daughter to be a maidservant, we understand that better now. It's not that he's being mean, and it's not human trafficking. She's not to go free as the male servants do. Now, I have seen this before as well. That's not fair because she's treated differently.
Right. If you listen to it with Western thinking, it's like, that's not fair. They get to go free. But Charlie, tell us what that's saying. Yeah.
So there's a different word used for her. And that he loves you, sister, so much. And if you have been in bondage, if you hear us talking about biblical feminism, this is biblical feminism. This is the heart of biblical feminism. It's not that you're better, you're worse, you're not throwing your bras in the fire, that you're better than everyone. But when you hear that, it's like slavery has a bad, feminism has a bad word, right? But if you hear that, I want you to see it here. This is when our Father loves you so much that he's saying that you're not to be treated like the boys are treated because you're that special. You're so special that I'm going to watch out for your redemption, and I'm going to make that man redeem you. I'm not going to let him throw you to the side and be worthless, because especially in this culture, And even today, sisters, we know we don't get paid as much. If we get fired from a job, it might be harder for us to get another one. It's getting better, but it might be harder if it's things are harder. But he says, if she doesn't please her master, which could happen, he could be like, meh, I don't really like her. She wasn't what I thought. If she doesn't please her master, who has selected her for himself, then he is to allow her to be redeemed. She's allowed to go back and be redeemed. Okay. And he will have no power to sell her to foreign people. We're talking about Hebrews buying Hebrews. We're talking about, sorry, my battery's going dead. We're talking about Hebrews, buying other little Hebrew girls to work in their homes for them and help them. And he's saying that you can't just buy these, you can't treat them anyway. You're going to see, you're not allowed to just sleep with them. You're not allowed to treat them any way you want to. You're going to honor, and he knows it's going to happen, because it does happen, right? It does happen. Women, we give our whole hearts into things, and then what happens? People, we just feel like we're thrown aside. So I'm just telling you that Yeshua is your Redeemer, and he's going to redeem you. He has redeemed you. He has paid the price. He says, I bought you with a price. He's saying that, sister, I know that someone decided they didn't want you and kicked you to the curb, or they decided that you know what, you're not what I thought you were going to be. So I'm out.
You're not tall enough. You're not
not
skinny
tall
enough. You're not big enough. You're not old enough. You're not strong enough.
Whatever.
You're not smart enough. Whatever.
Yeah. Could be a job.
Could be anything.
Could be anything. And he's going to redeem you. Yeah. And you have to grab onto the tallits of your Redeemer. Grab onto his garments. There's some things that you can read into. And so this is also said that when a girl got into a home, they would sell them pretty young. And when they got to a place where they were actually, if you read in the Hebrew, actually, you break down the Hebrew in here, it actually says, it also refers to a woman when she gets to a place where she's available to be married, meaning that she has actually started her menstrual cycle, she hit puberty, that he has to release her, or he has to marry her, or he has to give her to his son to be married. That girl cannot be just in the home and not be allowed to be able to have babies. She's not allowed to just be kicked to she can't just be in her home, their home as a servant and be a fertile woman who could have children.
Right.
That was not fair to her. To take away the one thing that was her dignity would be that for her to have children, and to do that. So all this whole section that when he's saying that if he takes her as his wife, that he has to treat her fair. And back then that was cultural. This premise, I'm going to set it straight right here. We do not believe in polygamy, period. We love you if you do. Go talk about it in your polygamy groups, but not here. In this group, this is the United States. This is the law of the land here. My husband got another wife, there would be something to pay. There would be hell to pay. The Lord has not revealed that to us. And I'm pretty sure he won't. But I'm just saying, that's where we stand on it.
Yeah.
So with this happening, these women were not to be, the whole point of this wasn't like, oh, so he could have another wife. We have other wives. Gosh, I wrote out, you have Abraham's wife had, the multiple wives. We know that he redeemed bloodlines through them, through Jacob. We have Hagar, Keturah, we have Bilhah, we have Zilpah. We have these. He wanted to not to be disgraced and to be allowed to have children, because those women would be brought into the homes as maidservants to these wives to help them. And then once they became fertile, the choice then had to happen is, you either got to marry them or you need to redeem them. You have choices: marry them, let them marry your son, or you redeem them, meaning you pay the difference back to the dad and give them back to their father.
Right.
And
with their inheritance, money.
Yes. And then the man who was the father then could say, yeah, no, she's not going to marry you because I have a better offer. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's not marrying you. But it could be then the daughter would have her father's ear, right? She could say, I don't want to marry this man. I don't want to be in this house. So they're crazy here. But there was an option then for her to be let go.
Yeah.
So, and it's things we don't understand. It's ancient Near East things. We are women. We think, oh, I'm going to kick my head. These things are done so differently. But before you step into that attitude, I want you to step back and say, Father, what are you saying to me now here? what you're saying to me is you love me so much that no matter what situation I get into, whether someone else sold me into something by my own issues or by the issues of someone brought into my life, that you are my redeemer and my redeemer lives and my redeemer has paid a price for me and I am valuable. And we heard last night in the cafe, we have a monthly call, a monthly webinar, and our teacher was Bill Bullock. And he told us last night that okay, everyone come close. Come here, I have a secret to tell you. I'm gonna whisper, come close. You are in an exclusive relationship with the creator of the universe.
Yes, you
I don't
are.
remember anything else Bill said last night because that hit me so hard.
He didn't need to say anything else. That was just
He said that like in the first 5
precious.
minutes. Yeah, so much. Amanda, I'm sorry. You want to unmute yourself? I see that popped up on my screen.
I guess you sort of answered part of it looking at verses 7 through 11, but my original question actually referred back to verse 4 when it talks about the master giving a wife and then that woman bearing, children, and then the wife and the children belong to the master and not the husband slash father. And then he has a choice, obviously, if he's going to go free by himself
Right.
or, he can choose to stay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, like thoughts on that, but I feel like it definitely ties into verses 7 through 11. But, how does that differ? Does it differ
It
from
does.
the whole
I have an
Jacob?
answer. I do
Oh,
have an
okay.
answer for you. I studied that out last night, actually. So, if you go into the original Hebrew, and I can screenshot if you remind me, because I will forget my name in 5 minutes. So remind me. I will send you the screenshot because he set the it's through. I can send you a picture of the app, and I've shared it a couple times with you. And they will go through and do commentary, and they go through Rashi and everything. And one of the explanations is when you break it down to the Hebrew, there's two different servants they're talking through this whole thing. One is a Hebrew servant and one is a Canaanite servant. And what they're saying is that if they have a Canaanite servant, if he brings in another Canaanite servant and they have children, that he has to leave that Canaanite and those children there. And, he can't take them on and take that Canaanite into the, so it was about blending the Canaanites into the Hebrews. There was a reason for that. It wasn't just, oh, you can't take your kids. But if they were like Hebrew children and he came back and he would bring of course, those would all go because they would then fall underneath the law of the slave. And in 6 years, they would get to leave because they would fall under the 6-year rule and they would get a 7-year release because both the women and the children, they would be released in 6 years. But if it was a Canaanite, they would not be released that way. They were owned by they were owned differently. There was a different set of laws if they were not Hebrew.
Yeah, and they were responsible for them. They were responsible for them and their well-being always.
Yes, always.
And the other thing, that
wasn't being mean, like, oh, they're Canaanites, so they're filthy.
No.
Was saying that they were saying that you can't just throw them out to let Hebrews treat them like as a stranger. They were brought in as a stranger and they were to be cared for the rest of their lives. But the Hebrews were then brought in because if you think about it, it's an indentured servanthood that they came in, they did their 6 years. And if they married like one of the slaves, they're saying, if you want to marry one of these Canaanite women and have kids with her, you've got to stay in this, you have to stay. But is a whole, we can go, but it was a really good, there's just different Hebrew words that were being used back and forth between the different servants and slavery. So,
right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I would love that screenshot too. I'll remind you at the end. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then also, don't you just love, because see, when they're being in the home and they are being raised as servants in the home, they are being taught Torah. They're living in a home that is honoring the creator of the universe. They are living in that home. And if the servant says, my wife and family are here and they're here, I'm not leaving them, I want to stay with you, I want to be joined with you, then what happens? They're put against the doorpost. Can you see the redemption story? They're put against the doorpost and blood is spilled on the doorpost. so that their generations, all their generations are in that covenant of they get to participate in that covenant that Yeshua did.
Yes, and Gail did a great job as she does it in the partial point when she talked about crossing when you put the blood over the doorpost, how it's more than what we understand, that when you cross through a doorpost, it's actually, you're going into a covenant saying, when I walk into this home, I'm taking on a covenant that I will honor your God. I will honor the rules of this home. But I thought it was interesting. Something hit me last night about that, is when your ear was to the doorpost, why the ear? And this is me. This was just me thinking how cool. What do we put on our doorpost? A mezuzah.
Yeah.
What's inside the mezuzah?
The Torah, scripture.
The Shema and the Shema. The hear, O Shema, hear, O Israel. To Shema, to hear. So you're saying that I'm going to hear, right? And I'm going to do. I'm not just going to listen, but I'm going to listen and I'm going to obey. Like, isn't that cool? I don't know. For me, it was kind of cool. It was. I feel like it was significant for me.
Very significant.
That it was the ear. But this is all like fun, cool stuff about that.
Can I just add one little tiny, sorry guys, I just have to add a little tiny thing with that. You know that when you are walking, when you're married, you're in covenant and you're one, correct? If your spouse is not walking in the ways of Torah right now, you guys are still one, you're still in covenant, right? So when you walk through your door, just say you put a mezuzah up on your door. When you walk in and you're saying, peace be in this home. When I come in, may your peace reside with me, and may I be a giver of your peace within this home. And when you leave, may I leave this place, and may I be a giver of shalom wherever I go. When you and your husband are one, when you're praying that prayer, that is covering your spouse.
Yes.
You realize that as one, as a unit, that when you are honoring the Sabbath, he's honoring the Sabbath. I mean, I know that there's technical things, but I'm saying, listen to the heart of the Holy One. When you're one, that's why we get to do this, guys. We get to be Azer Kenegdos. We get to be the ones, because in this moment, in this time, you guys are the ones that we're talking to, and you're talking to us, right? So that's why we're saying it this way. But you get to rise up. You get to rise up and say, I will hear you. Yes, I will Shema. And when you do that, it goes into the seed of your generations. It's so much bigger than just the surface level. And that's what Mishpatim do. These Mishpatim are so much bigger than the surface level. There's stories about what could possibly happen and ways that you could work it out, and instructions of how it should go and should be, so that you're reflecting the King of the universe in your behavior. It's practical applications. It doesn't mean that it's okay to do those things. It means that they're going to happen. And when they do, this is how you're going to deal with it. It's not saying go do likewise. It's saying when this happens, I'm going to give you a heads up. This is the time of instruction. I'm going to give you a heads up. So when you're walking, you know how to be a light bearer.
Yes.
Just love you guys so much. Isn't it exciting?
Brenda, when you were talking, I saw the picture of the Dalet.
Yeah.
And he's nailed the Vav.
Yes.
Nailed. The ear is to the Dalet.
Yeah.
Vav to the Dalet. What would be the big deal about that?
Well, if you follow that through, I don't know, but one possible explanation would be the Dalet and the Dalet being the doorway, and the Vav being the connector of the doorway. And what does that have to do? How are we connected to the doorway? Who's the doorway? Who is the doorway, and who is standing at the doorway, and who are we connected to?
Yes.
Who are we connected to? It's all.
This is all when he was talking about all those things, and he's saying, I mean, I'm going to be connected. I'm going to Shema. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be connected to Yeshua.
Yeah.
Through the doorway. I'm going to be connected to that doorway.
Yeah.
And the connection. And what did they call the entrance into the tabernacle? The doorway. It was the Dalet.
Yes.
When we talk later, when we get into the tabernacle. So we go into the death penalty.
Okay, let's go there.
We go into the death penalty, and I'm going to talk about kids real quick. And I mean, I love you guys. This is so fun. This is like, yeah.
Are we even going to get out of chapter 21? I don't even think. I mean, Moses is on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, and we can't even get there because we can't get past these amazing revelations of who he is. Are you going to talk about measure for measure?
Gosh, I just want to quickly say we talk about death penalty. He said kidnapper. There's a reason I want to bring this up.
Okay.
Not because of political issues. He says, here's the things that are death penalties. And what I read last night, one of the great things in the commentary was that whenever it's not specified about a death penalty, like by stoning, it was by strangulation. Just so you know, the death penalty was by strangulation. That was the death penalty. So I don't know if it's hanging. I don't know how they strangulated them. And I thought, why, Father? I kept asking that, like, why did that happen? And it was this, all I could see was them taking the breath that God gave them, that they took it for granted, and they took the breath of God from someone. So they strangled them to remove the breath from them. That was the picture that I got when I prayed, and I asked the Father for that. So just did not read that anywhere. But what I do know is I did read that unless it was specifically said how they were to die, they were died by strangulation. So for these ones, if they kidnapped, if they killed somebody, if they kidnapped or they killed somebody, and then what did they say? If they cursed or their parents, or if they cursed their parents, or if they
strikes his mom or dad,
strike their mom or their dad. And I'm going to sneak through all my notes to that. Why? We're going to talk about criminal homicide in Leviticus, and why. We're going to talk about premeditated murder. Kidnapping was the reason for death penalty. Criminal homicide, premeditated murder, and kidnapping. Sorry, I was in the wrong notes. In kidnapping, the reason why this was you think, why kidnapping? Like, yeah, we think that's horrible because, we're all about no to slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
But but the kidnapping is, and still to this day, kidnapping is used to feed a slave market.
Right.
And a man's life is stolen, or a woman's life is stolen. So it's the
human
same
trafficking.
As if they were dead. Mm-hmm. It's human trafficking. And he's saying it is a death penalty. Mm-hmm. And then when he says for us to, so how is it that murder, criminal homicide, premeditated murder, and kidnapping, and then, and if you strike your parents or you dishonor your parents, then you're going to die.
Dishonoring them too. Dishonoring them too.
Wow. Yeah. And he's, by the way, if you go in and you look at the words, he's not speaking to children. He's speaking to adult people. He's not saying, well, if you're, we talk about later, we'll talk about the sons and stuff like that. But in this particular case, the Hebrew word is actually male and female, used for male and female. And it's actually speaking to everyone, not just, he's not saying children do this thing. So you're supposed to be teaching your children, teaching them. So this is for an adults as we do things. And why is it so much? Is because when in Mark, I want you to write down a verse and look it up later, in like Mark 7:10, it's when you intentionally curse using God's name, you're intentionally limiting your parents' life. You're intentionally limiting and cursing them with God's name, saying, so be it, that you are misrepresenting him, and you're limiting your parents' lives in some way. And I'm not even going to go down that road, but what does that look like? And how do we raise children now that are entitled, that are speaking? I mean, we're going to hear about this. Paul talks about it in 2 Timothy. Paul's talking about in the last days that the children will be against their fathers. This is what happens. And what he says is, don't have anything to do with those men that are dishonoring to, because why? Because they're murderers. What's happening? He's putting this because he's saying that the reason he's grouping these together. I mean, I say that like we're, I am his favorite, but sometimes we talk, and this is what I feel like my download was, that it was so important, because when you murder someone, you are ruining it. It's a criminal offense to a community and a family, because you killed a seed, right?
You've killed the seed, right? All future generation.
Yes. And so speaking against your family, or hurting that, messing up that family unit, is so important that it's linked. It is as important. It does a injustice to society. Causes a breakdown in the seed and a breakdown in society, equal to murder and kidnapping people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Say law.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
when Second Timothy and Paul says don't have anything to do with them, if you knew your children were hanging around with a bunch of kids who were they're premeditating a murder, and you found out about it, they were going to do a school shooting, and you knew they were gathering guns. Your son came home and said, yeah, they're doing all this stuff, I'm just going to go hang out with them. You'd be like, no, you're not. And you'd keep them away from them. We need to also keep our children away from those that are disrespectful to their parents, rude, obnoxious, around. If you're in a home, isn't it awkward to be around a home when people are just like talking bad about, if they're going to talk about people who brought them into this planet, who gave them life, they're going to talk about you. They're just breaking down society. Have I done it? Yes. Am I forgiven? Yes. Do I know better now? Yes. Do I try to do better now? Yes. So I'm encouraging you today, you know better. How are you speaking about your parents around your children?
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you speaking about your in-laws
Are you
around your
killing the
children?
seed? Are you killing the seed when you talk about your folks to your children? Are you killing the seed?
Not saying it's not true.
Yeah.
Not saying nothing, but are you causing a limitation? Are you murdering? Are you bringing a limitation? Are you cursing? And there's life and death in your tongue. And that's the reason you're bringing out, you're cursing them in front of your kids. I'm going to say guilty. I used to call my mother-in-law, throw mama from the train. That's who, I thought she was like her. Bless her heart. She was, I had to ask for forgiveness. She's not here with us anymore. And I know she loves me, and I know but I have said some horrible things in front of my daughter about my in-laws. And it needs to stop. We get to speak life to that, or speak nothing. If you have nothing good to say, go to the bathroom, tell it to him that you're about to strangle her. So before you get strangled, would he please strangle them? One of us is going to leave this planet. They're going to know Jesus somehow. And it's going to be me or them. So you need to either make them know you or make me know you better, or I'm going to come see you soon. So anything on that, Brenda, you got?
Oh, well, you just threw me for a loop there when you said, I'm like, what? Okay. You're cracking me up. Well, I just wanted to move quickly to the part in verse 23 where it's talking about eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. And I just, I know that probably everybody on here already knows this, but I'll just say it for, baseline, because, this is the Torah teaching, and we want to make sure that if anybody doesn't know this, that they are not being left behind, or that we're, just skimming over it. But there's a ancient Near East way of doing this and it's in the Torah. So that's why I'm bringing it up. It's called measure for measure. And what it means is that the punishment always fits the crime. And this is something that we really need to think about because of what Charlie was just sharing. If death is the punishment, then we have to understand that the crime that was committed is so heinous that the King of the universe would say, in committing that, the commitment of that, the penalty would be erasing you from your life and stopping you in your tracks here and now. And so the measure for measure means punishment fits the crime. It does not mean that if somebody breaks off your tooth, that you go grab their tooth and break their tooth off. It's not that. It means that the justice that is bestowed upon that and how it's handled has to measure. You can't say if somebody makes a mistake, you don't kill them for the mistake that they made. All right. It has to be just. In other words, God's just saying, be just in how you behave, be just in how you walk things out. And it's measure for measure. And that's just really important. It's a really important theme that's going to move through the entire Torah, all the way through the renewed covenant, all the way through the book of Revelation. There's there's that theme of measure for measure, and we just need to understand it. So that's basically it. It's just a little.
No, I
There you
love that.
go.
I just want to backspace, just one backspace, because I want to jump in. I love that. I mean, I want to go there for a
Right.
sec.
Well, if you
I want to
knock
go
out a
back to the
tooth, you
parent.
get to be freed. So if you knock out
Yeah,
somebody's tooth, that's huge because they can never get it back.
right.
That's
So you have
like,
to pay for that. Like, how much does a
yeah.
tooth cost? And
Well,
remember, all of this is set up so that when they would go to a civil courts, that there would be a Sanhedrin that would come together, and they would take all the information, and then the punishment, they would be dead. There, he's giving the Sanhedrin rules. It's not like you and your neighbor get together and go, well, we're going to do this. This is telling you, this is what the courts are going to take you through. This is the process they're going to take you through. And I just feel really led that I'm supposed to say this, not just about in-laws. Be careful about how you're speaking about your spouse in front of your children.
oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Because are you teaching your children to be rebellious and to speak your husband, and you need to have a conversation, and you just sit down. And Tiffany, I'm so glad you're here, because I know she posts, they have you've seen like at Hobby Lobby, people have like, or they'll have like the thing that says, in this house, we laugh, we forgive easily. Have you seen those things where they have like the big list of all the things we do? I encourage you to come up with a family manifesto. I know Tiffany, they have one at their home, like a family manifesto. This is who we are. This is what this is, you guys. This is the family manifesto. He's saying this is who you are. And he's saying that when this happens, the courts now are gonna go through and do this. Yes, a family mission statements. I love that. But how are you speaking about your spouse in front of each other? Are you honoring each other in front of your children so that they're taught how to do it well? And when your children dishonor you, is your husband speaking up and saying, stop, you will not speak to your mother that way? Are you stopping and saying, stop, you will not speak of your father that way? This might be new. Some of us are new and we're like this, but the world is, we grew up watching Married with Children, with the with them all making fun of each other and think, oh, we're just having fun. Be careful, sisters, be careful, because we have been lulled to sleep with thinking it's fun and silly. And I was waving the flag and the baton twirler in the front of the parade. I'm just going to tell you, we're going to see it in stuff like witchcraft later, which we won't even get to, but stuff about witchcraft and playing with witchcrafts and mediums that we're going to, in this chapter, that, I mean, everyone thought I was crazy because I wouldn't let my daughter watch Harry Potter, and I wouldn't let her read the books. And they thought I was, even my pastor said, well, teach them enough about Jesus and you won't have to worry about that she'll know enough. Why would I let her be entertained by something that's witchcraft and think that that was fun? Or, I mean, here we go, you guys. And I'm not saying don't do this. I'm just saying I was a little crazy. Remember, I went from one religion to another. I wouldn't let her have troll dolls because I didn't want her to be thinking if she rubbed a jewel on some little doll that she would have special powers. Nothing other than the power of her God was going to get her through. That was my home. Some of it was crazy. Let it be your own revelation through the Father. I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but I have been convicted because I found myself lulled into a few times watching some of those medium shows because they were funny, because I thought, oh, this is interesting. But the 2 times that I did it, it wasn't that I felt convicted like because of religion. It was more that I felt like I opened a door to something that I shouldn't have opened a door to. And I had to ask God to close that door because I felt like I shouldn't have watched that, because what I watched is these people searching after something. And I found them almost like, have you seen people chasing after a prophet trying to get another word from the Lord? But these people were trying to talk to their dead family members and they were chasing after them. And I got lulled into watching this and I realized this is I'm opening a door to being entertained, and I'm told in this that not to do it. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to heaven because I watched it, but it's one of those things, right? Just trust me in this.
Yeah.
There's things in the spirit realm you don't want to be dealing with. The oven is hot. Trust me. Don't put your head in there and don't put your hands in there, children, because you will get burned. It will be hot. And then you have to go through healing and there can be infection. I mean, don't run in the street. You could get hit by a car and then you're going to be in the hospital in traction. And there's going to be bad things that are going to happen to you. Death is not the worst thing. So there's some things. So there's some things as you read through this, the rest of this week, and as we go through the rest of Torah, we want to keep saying to you, there might be some things that you go, this makes no sense. And I want you to say, okay, Father, is this one of those hawk things? Hawk it up, hawk it out. Is this one of those things that it's because you said so, and I have to trust there's something I don't understand because there's something I shouldn't be dabbling in, because it could bring, what are you opening up? Could spirits then open and say, well, she's opened it up? I mean, I'm not woo-woo girl, so be careful what you listen to what I say. But are you opening things up and now you're wondering why your children are having nightmares and you've allowed a spirit of fear into your home? you've allowed spirits in that you just might need to be walk around and need to do some anointing and praying and asking to leave. I think we can. I think we can say, I'm done. From this day forward, Father, you need to show me where things are open and what we need to close, and that we're going to do this, and you seal your house back up. But I'm that woo-woo girl, so and Brenda, what you're talking about, that this law of, a lot of people think it's a law of retaliation. That is not what this is. That's Latin. It's a ancient Near East Latin, ancient Near East, and then brought into a Latin thing where it's a law of retaliation, the eye for an eye. Well, if you take my eye out, then I'm taking your eye out. That is not what this is. And that's why we see Yeshua talking about this in Matthew 5:38-42. He is not revoking this when he says, you've heard it said, right?
Right.
He'll say what he's doing is he's correcting the interpretation of it. That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
He is not revoking it. So
no, not at all.
If you feel like the word in the New Testament or the Old Testament, you feel like there's a contradiction, take it to the bank that there is a misinterpretation somewhere and go and study it out, because I promise you that his word does not contradict itself. Yeshua did not go against Torah ever.
Right.
So you'll need to go in and research that out. So he was just correcting the interpretation.
Right.
This was not a code for personal vengeance.
No, because we interpret things through our flesh. And it was man's interpretation, Charlie. That's exactly what you're saying. It was man's interpretation in his flesh. And the correction was the interpretation of that, how it was going to be walked out, was not the covenant of God. That was not what was being addressed. It was how we do it, because we do that. That's what we do.
We do that.
We jump up in our flesh and we go all crazy on this, and that's not what it is. This is very supernatural, guys, by the way.
Very, very
This is all very supernatural. This is all very otherworldly. This is the kingdom of heaven being built right here. This is the house. This is the brick and mortar of the building of the house. This sanctuary. This is how we are being built into his people. This is how we are being built into his sanctuary.
Yes.
It's supernatural.
Brenda, if I cause your eye to be blind because of some he's giving the law of measure, he's giving the courts this law of measure of restitution, not retaliation.
Right.
This is the law of restitution. This is about a monetary, not a physical compensation. And that's proven. And we got Exodus 21:19 and 22. Both of them prove that he talks about the value of things. And if you blind a man, then you got to pay for the value of the eye. What does it cost you? So I have to make amends for that. And then we jump right into oxes. There's a lot of ox laws there's a lot of laws about oxen in here.
Ooh, what's the ox?
There's a lot of laws about oxen. And you know what? This is all about personal responsibility and liability for stuff. You guys, if you borrow stuff, return it. If you borrow someone's car, go get it washed and fill it full of gas. Brenda, Tiffany, did I fill your car up when I brought it back? Okay. I have borrowed Tiffany's car before. She's lent me her car before. When you borrow something, they get it back, they should be like, whoa, I didn't remember it was, they should be different. I don't know if I had it washed, so please forgive me. I should send you a car wash thing. I might have, I don't remember. But I know that if you borrow someone's lawnmower, hose it down, put it full of gas. This is, you may not have, most of us don't have a bunch of oxen in our backyards, but you have a car. Does your car do damage? Did you back into something and you're like, oh, they didn't see me back into that, so I'm just going to leave really fast. They'll never even know. Do you leave a note and say, oops, this is what happened? Or do you have dogs that might have damaged something and we could list things. Chickens. Maybe I only knew that one because of my chickens, but you have animals. Animals could do damage. Things could happen.
Yeah.
You have a boat. Does your boat run into something or go over something and you tore up something? I don't know. But you guys, we have stuff now. We don't have oxen, but we have stuff. Does your stuff cause someone else's stuff damage? Do the right thing. Be the right person. Leave the fragrance of Messiah. Let him know. Let the people, they're like, wow. Nobody else does that. That's amazing that she does that. If you borrow stuff, like I said, do it. If you damaged it, you're supposed to buy him another one. These are all practical things. And then we go into the whole marrying people, right? You can't go around sleeping with a bunch of people and not marrying them. This is, again, protection for women. And if you didn't see Dr. Robin talk on this in the conference, I'm telling you, she blew my world up. Read her book because she goes into it very deeply in her book. It's $5 on Amazon. Divorce and Remarriage in the Bible. It is so good. It's $5.99 on Dr. Robin Gould. You have to buy it. You can get, I think, Kindle for $4.99. But she goes through it, and it is the salvation story. It is beautiful about the law of the husband, but she talks about how he protects us so much as women. These are just not saying like, oh, men can just grab women and do whatever. This is a certain season, and he's saying that you just can't go around sleeping with a bunch of women and not marrying them. You can't go try people out.
Right. Because every soul is the reflection of the King of the universe. Every soul is important. Every human being is valuable. Every one of them, even our enemies, valuable. Even that, as hard as that is to understand, because he is Yud He Vav He, and every single person is valuable to him.
Yeah.
And
even the stranger.
Yeah, even the foreigner, the stranger. That's why these regulations are set up so that you can't get away with, well, yeah, but he's not a Hebrew. You can't get away with it. Doesn't matter if he's not a Hebrew. If he's not a Hebrew, this is how you're going to deal with it.
Because guess what? Then he's going to want to be a Hebrew.
Right. Well, exactly, because that doorpost that you were talking about earlier, I didn't really mention this, but I guess I'm being the woo-woo now. But you know, when you think of the doorpost, you're thinking the door. You're thinking about the realm that is allowing you to move from one realm to the next. And when we walk through the door, when he says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock," that is a realm. When we walk into that door, we are walking through the covenant, and we're walking into his realm. It's taking us out of this. So while we're here, we need to be looking through his eyes. We need to be seeing things the way that he sees them. We need to be filling ourselves. We're being built as a house here. All of our pieces and parts are being put together here. And we want to reflect what is in heaven, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, is reflecting what's in heaven here, right here. So he's saying, in heaven, this is how I would say to deal with it. Now you're there on earth. Now this is how I'm telling you to deal with it, so that you can reflect me. If we can just get that as we're going through, because after Exodus, we're coming up to Leviticus, and none of us know what that was all about. I mean, come on. So we're coming to that point where we're going to have to like step back and say, well, Father, even if I don't understand these things, you're talking about heavenly things. You're asking us to take on your thought and your thinking about what is true, what is just, what is righteous, what is good, what is holy. That's what he's asking us to do. And we don't have to understand it all up here with our brains. We really don't. And if we try to understand the Torah, can I just say that right now, blanket statement right now, there is no way that we all understand the Torah. There is just no way, because that's not how it's written. We are not supposed to have intellectual understanding of everything that's written in the Torah. What we are supposed to have is a heart for the writer, a heart for the one who is expressing his love to us. And that's what he's after. He's after relationship with us.
Yes.
Because we're all going to understand on an intellectual level at different levels all the time, because there's so many different, every word has many, 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 many levels. Every scripture has many levels. We can understand a little bit of it. Somebody else is going to understand maybe a little bit more, and somebody else is going to understand maybe a little bit more, but it doesn't rule us out. It doesn't make us less than, because our feet are on the path and we're in relationship with him. So we're all good. That's why we always say you're not behind.
You're not behind. You're right where you're supposed to be, right?
Yeah, right. Because this isn't about head knowledge. This is about heart relationship. He's breathing his breath over us right here.
Right.
He's saying, you're so beautiful. This is how you do it.
Yes. So good. And we hear things like, well, I was reading, in Exodus 23:4, we see Yeshua talking about that in Matthew 5:43. And he'll say, well, you've heard it said to love your neighbor, but hate your enemy. It doesn't say that in Torah. He wasn't saying that you've heard the Torah say. He doesn't say that. He says you've heard it said, meaning, because what was happening is there was it was a interpretation of the day. It was a saying of the day, like love your neighbor, hate your enemy. It's kind of like, we have all of our little sayings, we have just do it, Nike. We have all these things we do. There was a saying of the day that was love your neighbor, hate your enemy. Love your neighbor, hate your enemy. And that's when he was saying, well, I say.
Right.
And he's saying, I say, meaning Torah says, I am HaTorah. I am the living word, the word, life, walking among you, the word. This is what it says. So again, when you see things and you think, that seems like there's not. We want to be careful with strangers because they are very, very susceptible to exploitation. When they talked about the stranger, they were talking about those that were coming in, would be like us, messianics, believers coming in. We would be the stranger, that we would be open for exploitation. And we're supposed to help people feel comfortable so that they can come in and that we're not taking advantage of them and that we don't have offense. We're supposed to be, I read something that was really kind of a cool, this is not, he says not to lend to the needy with interest. So, if you have a business loan with somebody, that's a whole different thing. But if someone is in need and they don't have basic needs and you give them money and you want them to pay you interest. So that's why I'm not a fan of the Red Cross, because they charge interest to get their money back, to pay back stuff that they do. So I personally am not, you guys look it up, do your own research. Be careful what you give to. Make sure they're not requiring the needy to pay the money back with interest. Be careful what you donate to. The other thing is be careful for those people on the side of the road who are shaking their can and wanting money. You make sure the Holy One's telling you to give the money, because the Torah right here says you're not supposed to do that, because you're taking their dignity away. You're robbing them of their dignity when you do that. You can give someone a loan that they're in need, they're in a loan, and then you give them a means to be able to repay it back. Why? Because now you have the money again to give it to someone else. And then you can give it to someone else. It's like you have this perpetual gift that you can keep on loaning to people, that you get to be part of the solution and not part enabling their dysfunction. That you can say, I would love to do this for you. So for example, in the Rooted Cafe, we don't give free scholarships. We did for a little bit. We don't do it anymore. We are grandfathering all the free scholarships, so don't freak out. For those of you who might have gotten in the early days, we're almost a year old. The 20th will be a year old. It's a working scholarship. Ladies that come in, they get to donate something that they're good at, because in that way they have their dignity. They're actually paying for being there. That's Torah. That's walking Torah out. We're not just doing handouts, because then we're robbing you of your dignity. You get to work and say, I'm equal. I'm just as much a part of, I'm giving something, I'm paying too. I might be paying with my time, 30 minutes a week or an hour a week. I'm paying with my time, but I'm doing something. And I want you to think about that as you start to look at charity. I want you to look at charity different, how you do it. Now, if there's someone drastic needs and the Lord says, no, I've been somewhere before, and the Lord has told me, I want you to give a significant amount of money that I just happened to have gotten that out of happened to have gotten that much money out of the bank. And I got the money out of the bank and I had it in our car, and we go to a restaurant, and my husband and I both heard the Lord say we had to give it to our server. And it was a significant, we rebuked demons all through dinner. And then in the very end, we finally said, we feel like we're supposed to give this to you. And we didn't, and I left my phone number, because I said, I'm praying for you. And if you need anything, I just want you to know I'm praying for you. Didn't know anything. Later on, find out she had cancer, and she was that much short of being able to pay the deductible to get her treatment. And that it was because she had prayed and cried out for God. Was he real? It wasn't about her being healed. It wasn't about any of those things. She was into being healed, but it wasn't about her healing. It was about, she cried out to him and he heard her cry, and he wanted to show her he was listening. So he sent us to pull money out of a bank and give it to her, exactly what she'd cried out for. If you're real, someone's going to give, I need this much money. And a stranger who was sitting at her table, and we would never have gone there because it was like in the bar, but they were full, it was like all that whole thing, the spaghetti factory in Carlsbad. And we were like, so that for Tiffany. And so, no, listen, because he may be using you that way. But for the most part, charity is different than we have been told. Charity isn't a handout, it's a hand up. And I want you to be very careful about how you do charity as you walk it out, because you don't steal someone's dignity. This is about not robbing that from them.
Right. That's very good, Charlie.
There you are. I'm like, I couldn't see you. I'm like, did I lose you?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
Good.
I'm here.
There's a lot, Brenda.
Oh my goodness. Oh, you guys, I know we have to go, but we didn't even get to the part where we didn't get to
the supper. We didn't get to the blood.
The three foot feasts. the foot
Oh,
feasts, the three.
yes.
So, ladies, when you're reading this Torah portion, just do like what Charlie and I do. Just grab hold of whatever it is that the Holy One starts speaking to you, and just sit in that. You're not losing it. You're not missing it. Do it if you want to just do like a read through. Do a read through, but then go back and just sit in whatever it is that He's revealing to you, because that'll be the thing that He's speaking to you. And we know that the Word of the Holy One is alive and living, and it will speak life to you. And if you are just reading, again, you have heard. You just stop right there. You can be on the floor for 40 days and 40 nights with, again, you have heard, honestly, because his, not only is he alive and living, his word is alive and living, and his intent is to bring life and liberty, redemption, restoration, healing, wholeness, wellness, completeness. You get in it, it's Shabbat, you guys. This is what's coming your way. Get ready to be hit by the train. He's speaking this life to you here and now. And you don't have to compare yourself to anybody else. You don't have to compete with anybody else. You don't have to know more than anybody else. Just rest in Him and let Him love on you. Tonight, when
Yes.
sundown goes, when it hits sundown, I promise you, He is waiting to just love you, heal you, restore you. All of the things for these 6 days have been set into order. You have done such a great job, whether you know it or not. You have gotten
Yes.
things done. You have gotten things in order. You've picked up your prescriptions. You've watered the plants. You've mowed the
The
lawn.
children are not dead. The
The
children are not
children,
dead.
yeah. Just know that for this 24 hours, this Shabbat that's coming up, that He's got it covered, and all of the things that have to be done it's going to work out. So just relax. Just know that He's got you. And this period of time is the time when, like Charlie and I talk a lot, and she always has such a great idea with, as being a nurse, that she allows she tells me things like, in your brain when you go to sleep at night, your body is releasing human growth hormone when you sleep, and the growth hormone goes through your body to allow you to grow. Your muscles are being regenerated. Fluid is being flushed from your body between 10 and 2 a.m. I mean, I listen to these things, and this is what's happening. Basically, you guys, that's what Shabbat's all about. Shabbat is that time when everything is already been done and it's in order. And Shabbat is the time when the regeneration, the regrowth, all of that is happening within your relationship with the Holy One. He's going to speak life to you. You're going to be fed. You're going to be able to feed the ones around you and bless them and extend your hands to them as He has extended His hand to you. So I just want you to be blessed, and to know that this is what's going on. This is amazing stuff. And if you didn't get all the way through the portion this week, that's okay. You've got all day tonight and tomorrow. You've got all day to get through whatever it is. If it's just one word, you can do that, but you're not behind. And that's really important. So you guys just know that we love you. We care for you. We're here. He's going to bless you incredibly tonight. So just know
So
that.
good.
Anticipate it.
Yes, I love that. I love the anticipation. Hey, you guys, also, you've heard us mention a couple times about the different calls. This is our call every Friday for the portion that we open up to members and non-members. That's where we keep it in that Facebook group. But we are moving into maybe using living over to YouTube, so that we have a non-Facebook option for those leaving out of Facebook.
Right.
We want to make sure that we've heard this. We've heard the Spirit tell us to make some changes. So we keep saying it, moving into that direction. And for those of you you're interested, hey, you love this and you heard about these other calls, it might be something you're interested in checking us out. You go on to thereitacafe.com. You can go down there and take a tour and kind of see what it's about. See, like, oh my gosh, I want more of this. I love Fridays, but I heard you say something about parenting and fosters children or adoption, or I heard you say about foundations. I need a foundations, or Charlie, your mindset course, or Brenda, I want this Tuesday talk. Oh my gosh, you have Dr. Dina Dye. Oh my gosh,
She's
you have
coming
these
on
other people.
Tuesday.
We do this all week long, right? So we don't want you to get overwhelmed, but if it's something you're interested, go check that out. And we would love to have you. We would love to have you in our community, but we love having you here. So whatever, we
Yeah,
love
we
you.
do. We love you.
We saw
Wherever we get you.
hope you guys. Yeah, how we get you. I love you all. I have a patient to go see, so I'm gonna leave out. Brenda, you get to stop recording and stop everything. Thank you for taking care of everything. I am so blessed. All of you know how much I really,
Yeah.
I really love you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We know. We love
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Do you want to?